Namaste, Dandava Pranam. By the instruction and grace of our spiritual master, Om Vishnupad, Paramahamsa Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj, we are here reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're also paying our humble Dandava Pranam to Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada for providing us this wonderful commentary and translation of Bhagavatam. Yesterday was Srila Prabhupada's appearance day. So we're still remembering that and very happy to read his Bhagavatam translation today. Also following the guidance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, we are praying to Srimati Radharani. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta told us that unless we can understand Radharani within our study of Bhagavatam, then our study has been wasted if we haven't done that. So keeping this in mind, we are praying to Srimati Radharani. Yadi seva vanchitasya ma yasya kripaya vayam labhima sarvam praptuma prayojanam dhamni Shri Bhagavat Pade Krishna sambandhi sarvam cha yadi na jani mahe tutam ashtadashasu sahasreshu shlokanam Bhagavat oktishu Radharanina Vindamhatada Nishphalam Bhagavatadhyayanam Radhikaya Kripam Vina Vyartasyat Sarva Parishrama. If we are cheated out of serving that personality whose mercy awards us everything we need, including residence in the Lord's holy Dham, and all things connected to Krishna, and if we cannot understand or discover Radharani within the 18,000 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, then our study of Srimad Bhagavatam has been pointless. Without the mercy of Srimati Radharani, all our efforts are in vain. So we are continuing our reading from Canto 4, Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 31. Nārada instructs the Pracetās, text 30. Shri Shuka Uvacha Ityhamyatam Amantya Vidhoro Gajashavayam Svanam Tidrikshu Prayayo Yatinam Nirvratashaya. Sukadev Goswami continued, Vidura thus offered obeisances unto the great sage Maitreya, and taking this permission started for the city of Hastinapur to see his own kinsman, although he had no material desires. Purport. When a saintly person wants to see his kinsman, he has no material desire to see them. He simply wants to give them some instructions so that they can benefit. Vidura belonged to the royal family of the Kauravas, and although he knew that all the family members were destroyed at the battle of Kurukshetra, he nonetheless wanted to see his elder brother, Dhritarashtra, to see if he could deliver Dhritarashtra from the clutches of Maya. When a great saintly person like Vidura sees his relatives, he desires only to deliver them from the clutches of Maya. Vidura thus offered his respectful obeisances to his spiritual master and departed for the city of Hastinapur, the kingdom of the Kauravas. One moment. Text 31. Etadya Srinuyad Rajan Rajnam Haryar Pitatmanam Ayordhanam Yasasvashti Gatim Aishvaryam Apnuyat. O King, those who hear these topics about kings who are completely surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead obtain without difficulty a long life, wealth, good reputation, good fortune, and ultimately the opportunity to return home back to Godhead. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the fourth canto, 31st chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Nārada Instructs the Pracetās. This is also the end of the fourth canto. So now we are moving on to Canto 5, the creative impetus. This fifth canto of Bhagavatam is very famous for holding the Vedic cosmology or the Bhagavat cosmology, the planets and how the whole universe and cosmos are working from the Vedic perspective of consciousness being primary. So this is very uh, nice to be able to read this. Chapter 1, the activities of Maharaj Priyavrata. This chapter describes how King Priyavrata enjoyed royal opulence and majesty, and then returned to full knowledge. King Priyavrata was detached from worldly opulence, and then he became attached to his kingdom. But finally, he again became detached from material enjoyment, and thus achieved liberation. When King Parikshit heard about this, he was struck with wonder. But he was somewhat bewildered as to how a devotee with no attachment for material enjoyment could later become attached to it. Thus, in astonishment, he questioned Shukadeva Goswami about this. In response to the king's inquiry, Shukadeva Goswami said that devotional service, being transcendental, cannot be deviated by any material desires. Priyavrata had received transcendental knowledge from the instructions of Nārada, and therefore he did not want to enter a materialistic life of enjoyment in a kingdom. He accepted a kingdom, however, at the request of such superior demigods as Lord Brahma and Lord Indra, the king of heaven. Everything is under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Controller and everyone must work accordingly. Just as a bull is controlled by a rope tied to its nose, so all the conditioned souls are forced to work under the spells of the modes of nature. A civilized man, therefore, works according to the instruction of Varna and Ashram. Even in materialistic life, however, no one is free to act. Everyone is compelled to accept a certain type of body offered by the Supreme Lord and thus be allotted different grades of happiness and distress. Therefore, even if one artificially leaves home and goes to the forest, he again becomes attached to materialistic life. Family life is compared to a fortress for practicing sense control. When the senses are controlled, one may live either at home or in the forest. There is no difference. When Maharaj Priyavrata, following the instruction of Lord Brahma, accepted the royal throne, his father, Manu, left home for the forest. Maharaj Priyavrata then married Barhismati, the daughter of Vishvakarma. In the womb of Barhismati, he begot 10 sons, named Agnidra, Idmajiva, Yagyabahu, Mahavira, Hiranjarita, Gritaprishta, Savana, Midhatiti, Vitihotra, and Kavi. He also begot one daughter whose name was Urjasvati. Maharaj Priyavrata lived with his wife and family for many thousands of years. The impressions from the rims of Maharaj Priyavrata's chariot wheels created 7 oceans and 7 islands. Of the 10 sons, Priyavrata, of the 10 sons of Priyavrata, 3 sons named Kavi, Mahavira, and Savana accepted sannyas, the 4th order of life, and the remaining 7 sons became the rulers of the 7 islands. Maharaj Priyavrata had also a second wife, in whom he begot 3 sons named Uttama, Raivata, and Tamasa. All of them were elevated to the post of Manu. Shukadev Goswami thus described how Maharaj Priyavrata achieved liberation. Text 1. Rajo Vacha Priyavrato Bhagavata Atmarama Katamune Grihe Ramata Yanmula Karma Banda Parabhava. King Parikshit inquired from Shukadev Goswami, O great sage, why did King Priyavrata, who was a great self-realized devotee of the Lord, remain in household life, which is the root cause of the bondage of karma, fruit of activities, and which defeats the mission of human life? Purport. In the 4th canto, Srila Shukadev Goswami explains that Nārada Muni perfectly instructed King Priyavrata about the mission of human life. The mission of human life is to realize oneself and then gradually go back home, back to Godhead. Since Narada Muni instructed the king fully on this subject, why did he again enter household life, which is the main cause of material bondage? Maharaj Parikshit was greatly astonished that King Priyavrata remained in household life, especially since he was not only a self-realized soul, but also a first-class devotee of the Lord. A devotee actually has no attraction for household life, but surprisingly, King Priyavrata enjoyed household life very much. One may argue, why is it wrong to enjoy household life? The reply is that in household life one becomes bound by the results or fruit of activities. The essence of household life is sense enjoyment, and as long as one engrosses his mind in working hard for sense enjoyment, one becomes bound by the reactions of fruit of activities. This ignorance of self-realization is the greatest defeat in human life. The human form of life is especially meant for getting out of the bondage of fruit of activities. But as long as one is forgetful of his life's mission and acts like an ordinary animal, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, he must continue his conditioned life of material existence. Such a life is called Svarupa Vishmrti, forgetfulness of one's real constitutional position. Therefore, in Vedic civilization, one is trained in the very beginning of life as a brahmachari. A brahmachari must execute austerities and refrain from sex indulgence. Therefore, if one is completely trained in the principles of brahmacharya, he generally does not enter household life. He is then called a Nastika brahmachari, which indicates total celibacy. King Parikshit was thus astonished that the great king Priyavrata, although trained in the principles of Nastika brahmacharya, entered household life. The words Bhagavat Atmarama are very significant in this verse. If one is self-satisfied, as is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is called Bhagavat Atmarama. There are different types of satisfaction. Karmis are satisfied in their fruit of activity, jnanis are satisfied to merge into the effulgence of Brahman, and devotees are satisfied to engage in the Lord's service. The Lord is self-satisfied because he is fully opulent, and one who is satisfied by serving him is called Bhagavat Atmarama. Manusyanam Sahasreshu Out of many thousands of persons, one may endeavor for liberation, and many thousands of persons attempting to become liberated, one may achieve liberation from the anxieties of material existence and become self-satisfied. Even that satisfaction, however, is not the ultimate satisfaction. The jnanis and karmis have desires, as do the yogis, but devotees have no desires. Satisfaction in the service of the Lord is called akama, freedom from desire, and this is the ultimate satisfaction. Therefore, Maharaj Parikshit inquired, how could one who was fully satisfied on the highest platform be satisfied with family life? The word parabhava in this verse is also significant. When one is satisfied in family life, he is doomed because he must already have forgotten his relationship with the Lord. Prahlad Maharaj describes how the activities of family life implicate one more and more. Atmapatam griham anda kupam. Household life is like a dark well. If one falls into this well, his spiritual death is assured. How Priyavrata Maharaj remained a liberated Paramahamsa, even within family life, is described in text 23 of this chapter. And thus ends our reading for today. We'll continue from text 2 on Wednesday. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada, Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Gurudev, Srila Acharya Dev Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Srila Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai.
Jai.
All glory to the assembled devotees, all glory to the worldwide devotees, some Bhaktivedanta Vrinda Ki Jai. Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ju Ki Jai. Ganga Mai, Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Giri Govardhan, Gupta Govardhan Dham Ki Jai, Sham Kund Radha Kund Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi, Bhakti Devi, Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Jai Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai, Scientific Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai, Princeton Bhaktivedanta Institute Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari 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 Bo, Jai Srimati Uma Devi Dasi Ki Jai.
Jai Gurudev. Sripad Krishna Keshav Prabhu Ji Ki Jai. Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat.